Hey everyone, thanks for coming out. Big crowd tonight. Thanks, Skipper. I'm going to tell you about the time I wasn't kidnapped. Have you guys heard from the dating apps the phrase, dating me is like ... Well, dating me is like dating a beached whale. I am life threateningly lost, and there is a group of concerned citizens hovering around me. I am new to the scene, and to stick with the ocean metaphor, I am completely out of my depth. So, this is the story of my first date with a stranger in 20 years. 6 months ago, got out of a beautiful relationship that had turned into a horror show. I turned 40. I packed my clothes into garbage bags and I moved across the country to live with my mom. My life was going exactly as I'd always dreamed. I was a total disaster, too skinny with my hair falling out and heartbroken, and basically a cause for constant worry for my mom and sister. It was a real great time. And I'm in no state for it, but I really want to go on a date because I need to feel loved again. But I do not understand the dating scene at all. The only relationships I've ever had have been with men who started off as my friends, and the only date with strangers I've been on was in college, and it was with, well, I was a real hit with the Indian and Chinese young men who would swing by my table at the library under the pretense of needing their pencils sharpened or to say that I looked like their cousin, and then they would invite me out to dinner at their family's restaurant. I now live in a super teeny tiny town, and there are no Indian or Chinese restaurants. Also, I will not go on the dating apps. It is my personal opinion that screenwriters for horror movies and people seeking dates should act as if cell phones don't exist. But I was telling anyone who would listen my situation. I would say, I'm starting over. I'm a pretty cool chick. Hook me up. I was telling this to the postal workers, to the bank ladies, to the checkout gal, to anyone who would listen. I was shameless. But unsurprisingly, this had not led to a single date until one day I got a message on Facebook from someone purporting to be a friend of a friend of a friend. And he invited me not to go for coffee, but to go in his boat for a sail. And so I clicked on his profile, and there wasn't a single photo of him. There wasn't a single photo of anything. It looked as if he made this profile and then sent me a message. And so I wrote to him, let's do it. You have to understand that for the past 10 months, I had been basically unable to eat, and I was just waiting for the sweet release of death. So, being murdered on a sailboat at least sounded like I would make the headlines. And isn't it more fun to be murdered by a random freaky internet stranger than to waste away like a Victorian spinster? So, I agreed to this, maybe a date, maybe a murder. I didn't know, I didn't care. Something had to change. But I arrive to this remote stretch of beach that I navigated to by a pin drop that he sent to my phone. There were no addresses. Very clever of him. And maybe this should have been my first clue. But I arrive there and he's there and there is a boat and we do go sailing and it's a great time. We have a really great time. We sail out there, this remote nowhere, could be anywhere, and we only talk about how easy it would be to murder me a couple of times. Haha, modern dating is so fun. But he's not an unemployed gamer, and I am old but not too old, and so we agree to meet for a second date. And the plan is we are going to have a cookout on this exact same empty stretch of beach. So at the appointed time, 6 p.m., I get in the car to go meet him. And the car I get in is my mom's minivan. And this becomes important to the story. I am living the life of a hobo. I have no assets. And so if I want to go on a date, I have to borrow my mom's car. So date number 2 is going great. We're sitting out at the beach, having a wonderful time talking to each other, enjoying the view, enjoying the perfect weather. Wine is involved, which I'm not used to. And so as I'm lying there, I just vomit out everything about my past relationship garbage, and he does not go running down the beach screaming. So that was cool, and also maybe should have been my second clue. But time in these circumstances is elusive, and so I have now been on a dinner date for 7 hours. It is 1 a.m. and we are on a 1-lane dirt road. So when I hear a car door close, it draws my attention. Who could that be? I ask, and it hits me. Let me pause the story for a second to say, if I had been a savvy dater, I would know exactly what this is. I have been lured to a remote beach. I am ensozzled on wine, and I am about to be kidnapped. His accomplice has just arrived. I can only imagine how much a 40-year-old assetless anorexic missing clumps of hair goes for. But as I previously said, I am not a savvy dater. And so I know that this situation is so much more terrifying than a kidnapping. I know that this is my mom. So I find my cell phone, which I have lost track of because I am on the beach and there is no signal. My phone is as useful to me as cash is to an astronaut. But I find my phone, I shake it to turn on the flashlight, and I take off running through the forest to intercept to the parking area, to intercept whatever might be about to occur. And as I'm running through the forest, my phone starts binging as it receives service. And I see that I have 3 voicemails. And the most recent text message says, "Could you please just give us a call or something, anything? We are driving down the road looking for you." And it is from my sister. And this is doubly terrifying because my sister lives in another town 45 minutes away. So it occurs to me, and maybe it has already occurred to you, if my mom has found me and I drove here in her minivan, then she has found herself a ride. And she found that ride with my sister, Kate. So Kate received a call in the middle of the night. Kate, my sister, is a realtor, and she subscribes to the service called People Finders. And People Finders lets you run like a light background check on people. You can look up their phone numbers, their email addresses, their physical address, their criminal arrest record. And so mom calls Kate and she says, "I need you to people find this motherfucker." But probably not, because this is my mom, and the only swear word that she uses, and she reserves this for the truly horrible people who walk amongst us, is butthead. So she likely called, and she said, "Kate, hi. I'm sorry to wake you, but Jen hasn't returned from her date and I'm worried. Could you please find this motherfucker's phone number?" And Kate did, and mom called him, and he didn't answer because we were on the beach, like I said I would be. At this point, I need to introduce another character, and that is my sister's boyfriend, Ben. Ben is an Eagle Scout, and he was also awakened by this phone call. And when he heard the potential for danger, he began collecting items of importance from around the house as if it was an elven quest. And when Kate gets off the phone with mom, he says, "We're going, right?" And so that is how my mom has come to have a ride. But she did not wait at home patiently the 45 minutes for them to get to her. No, it is 1 a.m. and a full moon. It was a beautiful full moon. And at this point, I'm laying on the sand next to the fire, looking at the stars and sharing my soul with another human being. But my mom is running. She is running down the highway to find me. She doesn't know where I am, but she will find me because she is my mom. So she gets picked up on the side of the road by Ben and Kate in Ben's Prius, and they proceed to the road where we are, and they drive down every driveway looking for mom's minivan until they finally arrive at the beach and I hear the car door slam. So I'm running through the woods with my cell phone flashlight, and I get to them, and I see my mom, and she's glad to see me, and I see Kate, and she's glad to see me, and she is looking me in the eyes because she knows if I am under duress, I will blink twice because we have worked this out in advance. And she is scanning my body to see if I have a red bead from a gun in the woods trained on me. And she gives me a hug to see if I'm going to whisper in her ear any warnings, because I may not be a savvy dater, but I come from a long line of people paranoid enough to survive a zombie apocalypse. But the best is Ben. I see Ben leaning against his car with a baseball bat over his shoulder, and in his other hand, he has a police light bar that is flashing red, white, and blue. Now, I have no idea what Ben planned to do, but I know for sure that if this had been a different situation, if this person who purported to be a friend of a friend of a friend was in fact trying to get on Dateline, that Mom with her running shoes and Kate with her codes and Ben with his police ruse would have saved me. And that is how I felt loved again. Thank you very much.